Hey everybody, this is immigration attorney Joseph Patrick Murphy with Allegheny Immigration Group. I've got a video for you today about how you can use affidavits to prove all or part of your immigration case. And again, my name is Joseph Patrick Murphy. I'm an immigration attorney with Allegheny Immigration Group. The office number here is 412-521-2000. My personal cell, text, and WhatsApp are 412-973-3442, and that rings right through to me. So don't be shy if you want to talk about immigration. If you have a question, just give me a call. People call me all the time, and you can too. In my practice, I do a lot of family-based and humanitarian immigration. Humanitarian immigration is things like asylum, visas for victims of crime, and refugee programs, including the very exciting Liberian green card program. When you're doing humanitarian immigration, a lot of times you end up representing people who came from so-called failed states. In many humanitarian cases, the home government cannot or will not produce documents, records that USCIS will find acceptable for immigration purposes. So you see how this might be a problem for someone trying to prove their qualification for a humanitarian immigration program. Records and documents that they need to prove their qualification for the refugee program may not exist, may not have been kept, or may have been destroyed. Again, for those of you just tuning in, my name is Joseph Patrick Murphy. I'm an immigration attorney with Allegheny Immigration Group in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The office number here is 412-521-2000. My personal cell, text, and WhatsApp are all the same number, 412-973-3442. We were discussing how to get proof required for a humanitarian immigration case where the home country cannot or will not produce documents that will be accepted as trustworthy by USCIS. Immigration law does allow you to use affidavits to prove all or part of your case. Of course, actual government documents are the most desirable type of proof. After government records kept in the ordinary course of business by institutions are kind of a second tier of trustworthiness. And that will be records like employment records, school records, hospital records, and so on and so forth. Perhaps the least trusted type of evidence that the government will accept in an immigration case are affidavits. USCIS will always try and discount or even reject affidavits as proof, and because of this, you have to strictly comply with USCIS regulations on what must be in an affidavit submitted for immigration purposes. All right, so what are the requirements? The first thing you have to understand is what an affidavit is. An affidavit is nothing more than a written statement of certain facts being offered to prove that those facts are true. The person who makes an affidavit is called an affiant. USCIS imposes special requirements on affidavits when they're used for immigration. For starters, the affidavit must be sworn to or affirmed by the affiant making it. And again, the affiant is the person who makes the statements that are in the affidavit. The easiest way to satisfy the sworn to or affirmed component of an affidavit is to take it to a notary and swear out an oath in front of the notary and have the notary watch you sign it and then put their stamp on it. It's a nice touch to have the final line of the affiant's statement say something along the lines of, I hereby swear or affirm that the foregoing is true and correct to the best of my knowledge, information, and belief. The notary will also almost certainly ask the affiant to put the right hand up and swear that the contents of the document are true before they put the stamp on it. The next requirement is that the affidavit has to be the affidavit of a third party. There are two parties to every immigration application. There's the person who's applying and then USCIS. A third party is someone other than you or USCIS. What this means is that you can't write your own affidavit to support your own application. Affidavits used to support your application have to be made by someone else. And that's actually from a case called Treasurecraft of California, the rule that you can't use your own affidavit to support an immigration application. The next requirement is that the affidavit must be coming from someone having personal knowledge of the facts in the affidavit. The affidavit can't be based on what someone heard or what someone thinks. It has to be based on something that they, for example, witnessed themselves, something they saw or participated in. The next requirement is to include the full name and address of the person making the statements in the affidavit. You can see why it would be hard to trust an affidavit when the person making the statements in the affidavit won't even tell you who they are. The final requirement is that the person making the affidavit must provide details about how they came to have personal knowledge. It's not enough just to say, I have personal knowledge of X, Y, and Z. You have to say, I have personal knowledge of X, Y, and Z because, for example, you were there, or because you caused it to happen. I have taken the liberty of making an example of what I think to be a good affidavit for immigration purposes. I'm going to put that up on the screen now and go over the different elements of a good affidavit with you. So here you have an affidavit being offered to prove certain facts, particularly that James Anthony Jones was born in Liberia in 1998. This affidavit complies with USCIS requirements. For starters, this affidavit is sworn or affirmed as USCIS regulations require. Susan, who makes the statements in this affidavit, is the affiant, and she swore in the text of the document itself, and she also swore a second time when the notary told her to put up her right hand and swear that what she was signing was true. Next, this affidavit is submitted by a true third party. This affidavit isn't made by James, it's made by Susan. Susan isn't seeking to immigrate. If James made this affidavit, one would wonder whether it was as trustworthy as an affidavit coming from someone who wasn't interested in getting that green card. The affidavit contains the full name and address of the person making it, Susan Jones on Somalia Drive in Chocolate City, Liberia. Finally, the affidavit gives details of how Susan came to know the date, time, place of her son's birth. She was there, and she knows where she was when James was born and when it was. If you are curious as to why James might need an affidavit like this, is because an affidavit that shows James was born in Liberia helps him qualify for the Liberian Green Card program. Susan will type up her affidavit and take it to the notary's office. The notary will ask her to raise her right hand, perhaps even to read out the contents of the affidavit to the notary, and then sign and date the document. After the notary has seen Susan swear to the truth of the contents of this affidavit, read it out loud, and sign and date the affidavit, the notary will then themselves sign and date the affidavit. They'll put the notary's seal on the affidavit, and they'll put down the date on which their authority to notarize things ends. That's the "my commission expires" line. After that, this is what I would say is a good affidavit that complies with all of the USCIS requirements for affidavits. Again, don't forget affidavits are probably the third and lowest tier of trustworthiness, but they are usable. Susan will ship the original signed and stamped affidavit to me in the United States. I won't file that affidavit. I'll file a copy of the affidavit with her son's application for green card, and I'll take the original with me to the green card interview in case the USCIS officer wants to inspect the original of the affidavit. That could be because he believes it's a forgery or for something as simple as the copy I sent him got smudged. And that's it. That's the long and short of how to use affidavits to prove your immigration case. Affidavits are not the best or the strongest evidence in the world, but sometimes that's all you can get. If you're going to submit affidavits in support of your immigration application, you better follow USCIS regulations about affidavits to the letter, or your affidavit can get rejected or discounted as evidence. Simply put, you're wasting your time if you're making an affidavit that doesn't comply with the rules. I am immigration attorney Joseph Patrick Murphy with Allegheny Immigration Group. My practice involves primarily family-based and humanitarian immigration, and sometimes I have to use affidavits to prove all or part of my client's case. My office number is 412-521-2000. My personal cell, text, and WhatsApp are all the same number, 412-973-3442. Don't hesitate to use it. That number rings right through to me, 412-973-3442. Joe Murphy. People call me all the time, and you can too. This is Joseph Patrick Murphy with Allegheny Immigration Group. If you found this video interesting or useful, odds are that other people will too. I ask that you share these videos on social media, particularly pages, threads, subreddits, groups on the subject of immigration. I also encourage you to follow our Allegheny Immigration Group Facebook page and our Allegheny Immigration Group YouTube channel, where you can see other important and informative videos like this one. This is immigration attorney Joseph Patrick Murphy of Allegheny Immigration Group. I hope your immigration experience goes well and quickly. Thank you for watching.